All right. Check this out. There we go. All right. Make sure we're good. All right. Topic of discussion today is going to be tight ends. I got some opinions on the new position defining of the skill group. It's just going to be broad talk here, defining, in my opinion, what makes a tight end. Because everyone's different, you know, on what label they're going to put on a guy, like slot receiver, tight end, tackle, like guard. Like people have a requirement for different things, but I'm gonna tell you my requirement to play tight end. All right, my personal opinion. Make sure everything's on over here. Yep. All right, my personal opinion on a tight end is this: the guy's got to be able to line up on the line of scrimmage next to the offensive lineman and be treated as like an offensive lineman. So he's got to be an extension of a lineman. Like lining up a guy on the next to a lineman, you can line up anybody. You can line up a receiver there, but if he's not really like a blocking threat, he's not really a tight end. Like a tight end is just going to be a catching offensive lineman. Like Kyle Pitts is not a tight end in my eyes. Like this dude is just a big receiver because when he gets on the line of scrimmage, I'm not sending a linebacker out there to be like, oh, we gotta make sure he can't. He's gonna run block better, and we're gonna get beat in the game because he's not that good at blocking and he's not big enough. Like Tyler Warren is having such a productive rookie season compared to Colston Loveland, who was drafted higher, because Colston Loveland just isn't respected in the run game. Like he's basically just a big receiver, and like Travis Kelce is an absolute amazing receiving tight end, but he's also a threat like run blocking. Like you need to be a good receiving tight end to be great, but if you can't block, you're irrelevant. Like you're just a big receiver. Like you're not gonna get treated how you need to. Hold up, little banana bite here. Like about Darnell Washington, who's getting a bunch of hype right now. He's got 50 pounds on Kyle Pitts, dude. Like he weighs 311. He warrants a linebacker. Heck, he warrants a defensive end on him. Like, and then he can run and catch, which is exactly what you want. Like, a tight end needs to be able to block first before he needs to be able to catch first. If he catches first, he's not a tight end in my book. Like, if I line him up on the outside and they just shade a DB over him, then he's not a tight end, dude. Like, he has to warrant a linebacker. So my two requirements would say, can he block? Right. So is he respected in the blocking game? If he doesn't do that, not a tight end. And my second criteria is does he respect a linebacker to guard him or a bigger personnel? If they're just gonna move a DB into the box to counter my tight end, might as well like he's probably just not that good at blocking. So the number one thing I would say is just can the guy block, and I think the hype around the tight end is in the receiving game now, and you're forgetting the most crucial piece of it, which is like, yes, the receiving game for a tight end is absolutely critical for them to being great. The greatest tight ends can receive. But if they can't block, they're just a big receiver. Like, I hate that. Like, that's why Kyle Pitts is good in fantasy this year, but he has really just not that good in the grand scheme of football. And he's taking most of his snaps at receiver where he's just lining up in like a gun formation, like outside with the receivers. And I'm like, it's because he's good after the catch. He's big body. He's versatile, hard to cover. But if you put him next to the offensive lineman, a linebacker's not gonna be like, oh, another guy in the running game, like because you can just blow by Kyle Pitts in the running game. So the guy's gotta be able to block, and I think that's like so overlooked now. Like people are looking at draft prospects for tight end. I'm like, he can't. He doesn't weigh enough to block at a high level. Like he weighs 240, and he's like 6'3", and I'm like he's not gonna work. Like Jaheim Bell, I love Jaheim Bell so much. Former Gamecocks guy with the FSU, his last year. I think now he's on the Patriots, like tight end 3, and he was a baller in college, extremely athletic, but he's 6'2", like 230. He's just a receiver. He's just a big-bodied receiver, and I'm like, because he's not going to block anybody. I'm like, that's the issue. Like that's when you see these like really good receiving, athletic tight ends, and you're like, kind of not that good, because people were hyping them up, and you see guys like that, and you're like, wow, this dude's a unit, but he can't block. That's why, like, Darnell Washington isn't crazy in the stat room like, oh, Steelers aren't using enough. I go, they're using how you should be using a tight end. It's just another offensive lineman, except this guy's eligible to go make a catch whenever they need him to. I think, okay, if you put an offensive guard, right? If you put an offensive lineman and lined him up on the outside and all he did was block and never catch, and you put a big body receiver who kind of sucked at blocking, but he could catch, I think the offensive lineman's more of a tight end. And that's the issue with modern football. People like, drafting like a guy like Colston Love. Like, Colston Love's a baller. I love Colston Love. This dude can ball, he can catch, he can make plays. But if he cannot be an asset in the run game, then he's a bust. Like, he's just not going to get respected the way he should be. Like, Brock Bowers, like, look at Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers can block, dude. That's why he's such a good tight end. That's why he was warranted the high draft pick. That's why he gets so many receptions. It's because when I line him up there, the team's got to guard him with a linebacker. If not, if I put a DB, that DB's getting absolutely thrown to the ground. He's getting torched. Like, the guy's got to be a dual threat guy, being able to catch and block, but blocking's got to be first. Like, people are like, wow, he's such a great receiving threat, and I'm like, well, this guy hasn't been able to block in college. He's not going to be able to block versus NFL guys. It's like, you kind of develop the blocking. You just don't see it work. There's very, like, few personnel packages that they get that tight end in. Like, if they're running, like, a 3 tight end set, you're like, we can put him in here because he's our 3rd tight end, but, like, maybe put him on the weak side where we're not actually going to be running the ball too. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe like leak him out into the passing game. And, that's something with like tight ends that like I was trying to make clear on my point of view on this talk. But the guy's got to block. Like, a tight end will never play for me in my program if he cannot block. Like, I would take my 6 best offensive linemen, line him up out there and block. And if I need him to like be able to receive, I might just put this big old fat boy out there to run a 2-yard hitch and hit him for a check down if I need to, over having my like 6'4" athletic guy who just is salty in the blocking game. Like, that is you're not a tight end if you cannot block. And that's one thing I want to make very clear: is a tight end is just an offensive lineman who can catch. It's not a receiver who can block, right? And so, offensive lineman who can catch, not a receiver who can block. And the number one thing that has a guy be a tight end is being able to block. Like, if they can't do that, if they're not an extension of the offensive line, they're not a tight end in my eyes. And that's such a short topic of today. Got some Rocket League gameplay on. Talking a lot better than doing it in Madden. Yeah, that's my talk for today. Appreciate you guys watching.